Welcome back to Super Sentai Review, episode 41. Yep, for the first time in quite a while, we're actually on a new Sentai. This one was discussing the fourth ever Super Sentai duo. At the time, when it originally aired, it was the second one. This is before they retconned the first two as well. This is Denshi Sentai Denziman. Yep. And yeah, these are the suits. I gotta say, they're basically very. I like the way these suits look. They're actually pretty good looking suits. If you're curious though about the little wire thing on part of the helmet, that's actually an internal computer that basically explains how their powers work. And here's the thing about the actual Denziman themselves. They're all human, but here's something quite interesting about them. The fact that, well, the power itself is alien. Yes, it's an alien power. Now, unlike in the case of the last two Super Sentai basically I covered, which were Jack and Vader Clan, Denziman do not work for the Japanese government. Nope, they're not. Basically, their technology is not a creation of a branch of the Japanese government at all. This is actually, I believe, the first time ever in the history of Super Sentai at this point where they don't do that at all. Nope. Now, we have five people. We have Epic Agi. That's the character. He's Denzi Red. He is a karate. He's basically a master of martial arts. Denzi Blue is basically the Jiromi. He's actually the same guy who played Kenya from Battle Fever J. And he will also later on play Space Sheriff Gavin. And also one of the Kamen Riders. Yep, this guy gets around. Denzi Yellow, Jun Kazuma. Now, I forgot if I mentioned Denzi Blue. They mentioned, they kind of don't really go into his profession very much, exactly what he does. It's assumed that he's a circus performer. But again, if I can teach later, that's basically what it is. Denzi Yellow, I believe this guy is he's a scientist. Denzi Green, who is Tatsuya Makawa. He is, in fact, a police officer who becomes a Denziman after his father is killed by one of the villains, which I'll get to. And we have Denzi Pink, Akira Momi, who is, I kid you not, she is, in fact, a tennis player. Yes, a tennis player. So, a karate, basically a martial artist, a scientist, a police officer, a circus performer, and a tennis player. That is your 5 Super Sentai Rangers. Oh, and the way things starts off is quite interestingly. And this is, at this point, not been explained about. We have Denziland, this mysterious rock that comes to the planet Denzi. And we also see that there is a dog there named IC. Yes, a dog. Okay, perfectly fine. If you wanted curious what the dog looks like here. There he is. I see. He is also, in fact, the first non-human mentor. What you're thinking? Really? Oh yeah, really. He is, in fact, the very first one. Oh yeah, and this guy, he can talk. We also have Denzi Computer, who does kind of translating. Yeah, and they're pretty much, basically, we have this mysterious group known as the Vader Clan. Yes, the Vader Clan. Which they're led by this woman here, Queen Hedron. Which when you look at this woman, you're like, man, she looks familiar. What, isn't that Rita Repulsa? No, not, well, yes and no. Basically, it's the actress who plays her. This is actually her first regular appearance on Super Sentai. over a decade prior. I would say about 15 years, I'd say about 12 years before she assumed the role of Rita Repulsa. Though this is the second character she's played in Super Sentai. Queen Hydra. And by the way, this actress who plays her now in Battle Fever J, she was 41 when she made an appearance there. Here, she's 42. Yes, believe it or not, she is in fact 42, and she is the leader of the Vader Clan, and she appears in all the episodes. And here's something interesting though about this: like she's actually human. She's not some other monster or a subordinate of a monster or not. And by the way, the little research I did, they're not going to retcon the fact that even though she's kind of a human-looking villain, she's actually an alien. Her chief subordinate is General Heater, who is this guy here. Yeah, this guy, this weird armor with his facial hair. Yeah, that is your chief henchman for this whole season. Now, honestly, where this guy comes from is, they don't really say. And we do also have, well, two other subordinates, Keller and Mirror. These two beautiful women who pretty much act as basically lieutenants for the general, who also work for the queen themselves. Mirror basically does this thing where we have this thing where Queen Hydra proclaims, oh yeah, we're the, get this, like, who is most beautiful woman in the universe? Queen Hydra. Okay. Yeah, and here's the thing. Their base. Okay, their base is simply put a flying castle. Well, this is what their symbol looks like. Yep, that's the symbol for the Vader Clan. Now, as for their base, let's see if I can get to it here. Alright, this is the Vader Demon Castle. Yes, this is seriously a castle. That is what they... Oh, come on, seriously, don't do it to me, please. Yes, this is what they use in these episodes. This particular thing. Now, in these 3 episodes, we're introduced to 3 monsters. We're introduced to... When a dub describes this guy here, is that they call him a flying squirrel, even though the trends on the wiki page is Massabender. And he's referred to as Vader Monster 00. Yes, the very first monster they actually introduced in this season. Oh, and here's something interesting, though. All the monsters are all by themselves. Then we have Shibata. Basically, this actually is the correct name. Yeah, that's your second monster for these episodes. And the third and last one is Kregat Gar, which I'll get to basically what the plots these episodes are in a minute. Now, in the very first episode, we have it where we explain that the planet this Denziman, where apparently it looked like in caveman times. Sits on some rocks. We see Icy in slumber, and he is like this for 3,000 years. Until he wakes up in the present day due to the Vader Clan finally appearing on Earth. I'm like, what the heck took Vader Clan took so long to get here? Also, it's never really assumed exactly like how old Queen Hydra is. I mean, the actress herself is 42 at this point. How old she is never actually explained. Yes, so pretty much we have these various portals open up, causing a lot of destruction. The first one, of course, goes to the guy who becomes Denzi Red, and of course, Icy protects him, and he says, "Oh, you've been chosen to become the Icy. You've been chosen to become Denzi Red." He's like, "Denzi Red," and then he walks off. Yeah, a lot of stuff in this first episode is not thoroughly explained. Like, what the heck is Denzi Planet? And of course, they'll probably explain this a bit later on. So then he goes to recruit various people, and then of course he goes to recruit. In the case of Denzi Pink, basically her coach is attacked, and basically she is recruited like right in the spot. Denzi Yellow just basically like he just happened to look Icy's way, and his you've been chosen to become Denzi Yellow. Denzi Green is basically like, I believe he's the one who's the, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was the one who was the police officer, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Because I think Denzi Yellow was a scientist. Yeah, June is a scientist, yeah. And it was Green. Green basically, where somehow, get this, Denzi Red is following them around wearing his normal attire that he would normally wear in the episodes. Yeah, the weird thing about it is that a couple of the guys were ascots for some reason. Why the heck they dress this way, I have no idea. It's kind of weird how the heck that is. Mm-hmm. Let's see if I can find a picture of him here. Yeah, or basically you have it where, with exception to NC Yellow and NC Pink, everyone else basically wears almost like special suits with ascots. What is up with the ascots? Don't know. It's something they wear. In the case of NC Green, basically his father is basically bringing the actual object NC Yellow basically was looking at, and they're basically, and here's some noise, and of course it comes the actual. Yeah, here's the weird thing. In the sub I watched, they refer to this creature as the flying squirrel, even though it's called by a different name on the side for some reason. I don't know why. At least the other two are addressed by the correct names. Not the first one, mind you. They've heard him as a flying squirrel, despite the fact he does look like a squirrel. Oh yeah, and here's the thing. The monsters control their size, basically they can shrink, and they also can decrease their size at will. Yes, that is seriously what these things can do. And after the father is killed, of course, he joins up basically with the, well, Denzi Rangers. In the case of Denzi Blue, it's like he just looks at some animals, and then he's attacked, and he's saved by Icy, and then he says, "You've been chosen to become Denzi Blue." And then they're brought to Denzi headquarters, where they kind of explain that, and of course they give their actual morphers. Then they give braces like they did in the last one. Nope, it's basically rings you put on your finger. Yes, rings. That is their morpher. And I'm like, really? That's the morpher? A ring. Yeah. So, and by the way, the morphing call is Denzi Spark. Like, okay, interesting. I don't mind the name. It just basically, it's kind of weird to see that rings basically are your morphers. And here's a suit, and they automatically just, and they just do like this basically to adjust it, to make sure it's on properly. And then they're shown basically the vehicles that they have right in the first episode. And they're shown Denzi Tiger, the vehicle that transports their Megazord. Yes, known as Denzi Fighter. Which, when we look at it, looks like a giant toy. Let's see if I can find it here. And here he is. This is the Denzi Fighter. That's the second ever Megazord ever in history Super Sentai. Yes, this thing. It's not a bad looking Megazord. The helmet looks good. And by the way, first Megazord to actually transform, not just basically shoot out of a tube in one piece. This thing actually shapeshifted into this thing. How the Rangers get into this one, and of course they're things from to destroy the monster when they go giant size, is basically a boomerang, kind of like what they did in Battle for J. And of course, that they increase their size, and of course, as the Denzi Fire transforms, they enter the thing, not like Battle for J, where they just basically use jets in their boots to go through the belt buckle. Oh no, these guys actually enter from the foot. Basically, they enter from the left foot. there's almost like a step, basically a series, like a step door comes down. They go inside and they go up an elevator. By the way, they do this also in the next episode. They go up an elevator and they go in the cockpit. The cockpit, when I first saw it, I'm like, this looks like a very similar cockpit they use in Battlefield J, just slightly redressed. I mean, the seats are pretty much the same. I think the only thing that changed was the seat belts and the coloring was look different, but it's a very similar looking cockpit. Maybe this was a cost-saving measure. It's possible. Oh, in case you're curious though, besides from the sword, is there any other weapon that the Denzi fighter uses? A ball and chain. Yep, a ball and chain. And how to defeat the damn monsters is that they basically first chop off the head. Though this one, they just decapitated the monster. And in the later episodes, not only decapitated, they also sliced the body in half. Yes. And then they have 0-1, appear in the very next episode, and 0-2. And here's something interesting though. I did notice this basically at the end of, I think it was episode 2, where you actually have the heads of defeated monsters on display in the Vader Castle to note that these are actually the failures. And these monsters are grown from eggs. And the reason why the flying squirrels are growing quickly is because of nitrogen and carbon monoxide in Tokyo's atmosphere. That's mainly the reason for it. And after the thing is defeated in the very next episode, it seems Denshi Pink has no interest in continuing fighting. She probably wants to focus on her career. We do see that some of the Rangers got their own particular careers. They have basically have jobs at this athletic club. Now, Denzi Red is teaching a class. Denzi Yellow is teaching a science class that was mostly about poisons. Denzi Blue is teaching a yoga class. Yes, a yoga instructor for a guy who basically is a circus performer. In the case of Denzi Green, I'm not really sure exactly what the heck he does at the club. Denzi Pink, though, at the end of the episode, she has become a teacher at the actual athletic club, teaches swimming classes. Like, okay. Just like at first, you want to focus on her tennis career. Then, after basically the monster try to attack her due to the fact that they have a thing for beauty. Now, as for the purpose of the first monster, just cause destruction. That was simply the purpose of it. Second one was simply to basically get rid of all the beauty. Like, get rid of the flowers, and also kill an actual violinist. Yes, they kill it, basically just suck out life and everything. And when it top over, it shatter like a freaking statue. And it was going to happen to Denzi Pink, but lucky enough, they use a thing called Denzi Scope. What is Denzi Scope, you might ask? It's a particular device attached to their helmets that can basically see through stuff and see stuff that actually is invisible. And they use Denzi Shower, which they actually use to... It's basically Denzi Showers like firing lasers at something. And if you get the monster department, of course, you with the morph, and then eventually they destroy the monster. And of course, over episode 2 forward, that's when they not only chop the head off, but also cut the body in half. Yep. And the very next episode, basically, the monster's job to do is simply turn Tokyo into a hell inferno by sinking buildings and taking oil stuff, taking oil tanks. Seriously, that is basically the thing's plan to do. Then pretty much where also we see that we introduce something new in episode 3. Now we do see is also in episode 2. We see sort of like basically like a strategy room for the Denzi Rangers aside from the main base of Denzi Land, where it's a nice looking lab. I'm like, okay, if the place is called Denzi Land and you're still a computer, wouldn't you, I don't know, bring a support crew in to help out basically so IC is not doing stuff all by himself? So basically, they're at an athletic club. Apparently, there's an underground right near this place where we introduce this thing called Denzi Shooter. What is Denzi Shooter, might ask? A monorail! Yes, it is a monorail that has all 5 Rangers hop into the damn thing, get to the Denzi Land in just 10 seconds. Which I'm like, really? Oh yeah, really? It's like, wow. It's like, okay. So going Denzi Tiger. By the way, Queen Hedge, she knows exactly what this is because she's probably encountered the Denzi stuff before, but they're not explaining it just yet, per se. Oh yeah, and then, of course, also some kids are involved who actually are students of Denzi Red. then pretty much where, like, they do in fact eventually defeat the monster. Oh yeah, and we see that where that Queen Hedra gets very angry whenever one of her monsters is destroyed. And here's the weird thing, though. She does not take out her subordinates. Nope, she doesn't. She's angry at the right people. She's angry at Denzi Rangers. She's not angry at the subordinates. Nope, because they did their job, so you can't exactly blame them for doing their job. Mm-hmm. Yep. And aside from that, I say I at least got raised the fact that where, unlike in the case of Battlefield J, where it seemed as though that where the Pink Ranger had nothing to do half the time, and then later on got replaced. This one, well, this one was different. Each of the Rangers has something to do, though it's only 3 episodes in. Oddly enough, Denzi Green is probably the only one who actually doesn't do much of anything. Yep. But not much else to say about these episodes. They're good. It's a good start, but I kind of wish to get a little bit more explanation. Of course, Icy is questioning basically like where these powers come from and why specifically they were chosen, but they're not going to explain that just yet. Okay? So yeah, that's it for Circle of You. Stay tuned for my comic corner and my other anime dude today. Okay, to the next video. Bye.